Embrace Magazine is boldly uniting lifestyles as the first ever and only gay magazine in North Central Florida, based right here in Ocala. Recently honored as Best New Magazine, Best Overall Magazine, and Magazine of the Year, all in our first year by the Florida Magazine Association, our mission is to unite the gay and straight communities through exceptional content appealing to all. Hi, I'm John Sotomayor, publisher and editor-in-chief. Tune into our radio show on Wednesday, December 8th at 10 a.m. here on WOCA. To read our digital issues, follow us on Facebook and visit our website at embracemagazine.us.
This is Ocala Talks with Tom Schmidt, bringing stories that are important to our community in and around Ocala. Plus, of course, a splash of sports as well. Now, here's your host, Tom.
Welcome back to Ocala Talks. As the advertisement said, John Sotomayor with Embrace on Air is in studio with us. John, take it away.
All right. Thank you, Tom. It's good to be here today, and good morning to all our listeners. Wow, we've had a very exciting year. Starting about a little over a year ago, November 2020, the Florida Press Club awarded Embrace Magazine with 15 different awards, I believe it was, 9 first place and 6 second place. And that was followed by more awards throughout the year through the Associated Church Press, followed by the Florida Magazine Association. So we were very honored by all these accolades, and I'm happy to tell our audiences that the viewership is also up. So it's not just the industry that's recognizing us, but around the globe, our analytics shows that we're read on 6 out of 7 continents, which is amazing within its first year. So thank you, everybody, for your support. And what we're going to be talking about today is the success of the magazine, but more so what that impact would have on the publishing industry and with the LGBTQ community at large. So with no further delay, I'd like to introduce my guests. The first one is Jamie Mark from Winter Garden, Florida. He's a board member and former president of Florida Magazine Association. And he's also the founder and owner of M Agency, which happens to be the designer for Embrace Magazine. Good morning, Jamie. Are you there?
Good morning, I am.
All right, awesome. Our second guest is from Margate, Florida, Ann Gages, president of the Florida Press Club. She works for FloridaPolitics.com. Good morning, Ann.
Good morning, John.
All right.
Good morning, everyone.
All right, and then the third caller is from Bellingham, Washington, Greg Brecky. He's the executive director of the Associated Church Press. He's also the owner of Greg Brecky Media. Good morning, Greg.
Hi, John. It's good to be here.
All right. And thank you for waking up extra early this morning to be with us today. 3 hours ahead of us. Yikes. So before I go any further, I wanted to let our audiences know that some new developments have occurred for us. I'm very honored to say that the Rochester Review, which is the alumni magazine for my alma mater, the University of Rochester, had a write-up about us and the awards in their magazine. And unfortunately on radio, the listeners can't see this, but any viewers on the podcast can see that they had a write-up on the page 53 about the history-making awards with the Florida Magazine Association as well as the Associated Church Press. So once again, word getting around the world about what we're trying to do here. And locally, I'm very honored by the publisher of Ocala, Lisa Anderson, have put me on the cover of their October issue. So again, Lisa saw a wonderful thing happening within the LGBTQ community. Her magazine is all about human interest stories, so she did us that honor. So just really happy all around. Tomorrow I'm getting interviewed by someone at the Poynter Institute, again on LGBTQ relations in journalism. So excitement all around. So with that, I just want to go one by one with each of our guests and kind of touch base on what had occurred within their own organization with Embrace. So let's start with Jamie. Jamie, how has Embrace Magazine made history with the Florida Magazine Association?
Sure. If you're familiar with the Florida Magazine Association, they've been around for quite a long time, since I believe they were formed in 1953. So
Mm-hmm.
It's been around a long time. It's very well respected, and in its entire history, there has never been a publication that has been an LGBTQ plus magazine that's been part of the organization. So there's never been a magazine that's done that. So right there, it's already set history by being the first.
Mm-hmm.
What it did on top of that the cherry on top is that it has performed so well at at its annual Charlie Awards, which is really the best of the entire publishing industry in Florida. They just I believe I described it to you before. Is it was just this right perfect magazine at this right perfect moment, and the result was that Embrace took home the best new magazine, the best overall magazine, and magazine of the year in its very first year. Those things have never happened, all at once. And it was just a wonderful, wonderful night, honestly, to witness it, and just the feeling in the room was amazing. So Embrace easily one of the most memorable wins of my entire experience with the organization.
Wow. Thank you, Jamie, so much. It definitely was the highlight of my life that night. I think I said that in my speech, thanking the organization. Just for our readers to know, Embrace Magazine took all 4 best overall categories. There's 4 only. We took the Charlie, which is first place in Best Overall Magazine and Best Overall Written, and the Silver in Best Overall Design and Best Overall Digital Innovation, which is a new category. So I'm very grateful for our team of very talented people who came together and put everything they had, their A game, into this magazine. So thank you for everybody for all around. And before I continue with more questions with Jamie, let me ask the other panelists today. And Embrace Magazine first got its success in November 2020 with your awards there. What was some of the highlights for the judges? Can you comment on that?
Well, I would say that, in the way our competition is set up, the judges don't always have to leave comments, but I found that there's something about your content, I think, that just leaps off the page, because I find that a lot of you have a high ratio of entries to comments, and it really, I think it sort of, there's something about the humanity of what you show that transcends the LGBTQ, target, and
Yes.
it just speaks to the joy of living, and the challenges of living, the getting connected. There's something about it that really, there's something about what you put out that really connects people, because the comments are often, some of them are very technical, focused on technical things. Others are just like, wow, just simple one word, wow.
Yeah.
So,
Do you
like,
have?
there's one
Go ahead.
that talks about, it's not easy to get that skin tone outside of a studio setting. That tells me that's a judge who really knows their craft.
Wonderful.
But others are just like, it just captured outstanding, great moment. I felt like I was there, those kind of things that just tell me that something about it just hits people.
Thank you so much, Ann. That does remind me of some of the comments that I read from the FMA judges, where they said that they felt connected to the subject matters of all the stories, where they felt the angst and the accomplishments from everyone involved there, whatever they were transcending. So thank you so much, Ann, for that. I just wanted to add for our listeners that what was unique for me with the 2020 awards for the Florida Press Club Excellence in Journalism Competition was that we took honors in all 4 specific categories: writing, photography, design, and illustration. So again, I have to give thanks to my team who came together. Many of the people outsourced from all different places, seeing a purpose in this publication. So very excited about that. Then I want to turn now to Greg. Thank you, Ann. I want to turn to Greg. Perhaps the most extraordinary groundbreaking achievement by Embrace Magazine in 2021 was the historic membership with the Associated Church Press, and also being the first LGBTQ plus publication granted membership with the organization established 1916, and winning national awards through your Best of Church Press competition. Can you speak on that, Greg?
Right. Thanks, John. And it's been an honor to get to know you not only through this publication, but your previous publication. And I think what is really significant for the Associated Church Press, which we've had other lifestyle magazines that dealt with health or outdoor activity or music, culture, things like that, is that it is specifically LGBTQ. And I want to kind of dispel the myth that, a church press organization is not open to LGBTQ publications. We have had other writing and features that have featured LGBTQ plus issues, but never a magazine specifically dedicated to it. And so it was really an honor for us to look at every magazine or every publication that requests membership we look at as a board. And there was just a unanimous enthusiasm about having this publication as part of our organization, because we're really trying to modify. Again, you said we're over 100 years old, and so some of those old ideas of what religious publications look like, what faith-based publications look like, are changing. And we're trying to position ourselves more as a organization that looks at media, publication, journalism at the intersection of faith and life, and so spirituality, and not necessarily, derived at a specific religious practice or belief set. And so looking at Embrace and the way that it represents people living their lives fully, and how that intersects with faith, boy, that was really a win for us, just to say this is an outstanding way to look at this, quote unquote lifestyle issue. That's not a hard news issue, but I do want to. You talked about, with Ann, you talked about the comments that came through, and I just remember one of the comments that came through. It said, "This is a lifestyle publication, but this is a feature article, a news article," And I just remember reading that comment and thinking, that's really the way you get readers. That's really the way you build audience. And, it's a lifestyle magazine in our world, because there's a lot of hard news, quote unquote, going on. But the way you write features, the excellence of the presentation, that's the hook, and that's why I really enjoy reading Embrace when I get noticed that it's online, and be able to look at it as well. And so those are some of the groundbreaking things. Again, you're right in saying that it's the first LGBTQ plus magazine that we've had. And couldn't be happier to have you as part of the organization.
And thank you so much, Greg. And the awards that we won, I always refer to them as national, but they actually have an international aspect to them, because it includes Canada and other parts close to the United States. So it is an international organization, an international acknowledgement. And I wanted to add for our viewers, one of the reasons why we are working or got granted membership with the organization is that we're very all about inclusivity and diversity with the magazine. And our content is designed specifically to appeal to the entire audience, LGBTQ plus, as well as straight and allied communities, both who already know about the LGBTQ community or want to learn more about them. In addition, we also include content on religion, politics, business, and health, which is not just the usual feature content that you would see in a usual LGBTQ publication. So that makes us stand out as well, particularly the religion aspect. I was very leery at first and did a lot of focus studies to see how this would work out. And there was a lot of lukewarm comments on it, whether it would work. But we thought, if we're really going to make an impact and a difference in society, then we have to include this. And I'm really glad that we did. I also wanted to add that in the beginning, when even coming up with the magazine, I had a lot of concerns. I'm going to speak from my heart here to the entire community. I was worried about how it would be received, whether it wouldn't do well or whatever. Any startup magazine has its challenges. But the way that Embrace was embraced by the local community, Ocala, as well as Florida, and now the nation, I'm just really overwhelmed with gratitude towards everybody, and I'm really grateful for these leaders in the journalism industry to speak out on behalf of the magazine and what kind of impact it would have. So with that, let's go back on some of the other questions here, and we can open it up to all, or we can just follow the same pattern. But what would Embrace magazine, what kind of impact would it have on the publishing industry? Who would like to take this first? Jamie?
Yeah, I can speak to that. Well, so the simplest thing I could say to that is hopefully it'll just normalize things within the publishing industry. I believe that as a topic, embrace its approach to sort of marrying different cultures together, and to me, I see it as a normalization that it doesn't have to be. Everything doesn't have to be a specific niche where people are going, this doesn't apply to me, that it's a very inclusive title. And I see, again, I see that part of the timeliness of this. And I actually love what Greg had said earlier about that, because it really, that resonates with me as well, is that, you can be, you can live different life. Everybody has their own experience, and you can find something within its pages that you can relate to and it resonates with.
Excellent.
So, as far as the industry itself, hopefully, if I was going to say what I hope happens within the industry, is that it leads, right? It sets a very, very good example that others will follow.
Yes.
And I believe that, while the awards are wonderful and definitely terrific to hear from the industry, I truly believe that the real awards are with the growth of the people that are finding Embrace and seeking it out and reading it more and more. And I think that is creating change right there in itself.
Absolutely. And with a little insight between Jamie and I, without revealing too much, Jamie is my new designer with the magazine and has taken phenomenal leaps forward with it. And we have some new things coming up in our next issue, the Lux issue. I'm dying to tell everybody, Jamie, but I know I shouldn't yet. We'll wait till everybody sees it for the first time, get that wow factor. But talk about leading the way. If everything works to our vision, I think people will be very impressed with what we come up with, and not just innovating LGBTQ publications, but publications in general. Okay, so I want to now turn to same question to Anne. And again, I want to emphasize that all three of my guests today are allies to the show. So when I asked them for their speculation on what they believe would happen to the LGBTQ community, it's to their best of knowledge, working with others. So, but first, Anne, what do you believe the impact would be for the publication industry from the Florida Press Club's point of view?
Well, it's interesting because, most of the time we have, most of our contestants are, it's mass media. It's not targeted for a specific, audience or, interest group, or, it's supposed to be general interest. Well, most of our publications are general interest, but I think the success and the resonance that your content has shows that people are hungry for content that has, they can see themselves, they can they feel, it makes them feel empowered. But I also think that it's important that it has a certain universality to it, and I think that it hopefully it will lead the way for publications. It's no secret that the industry is struggling and to find an audience, and I think that Embrace is sort of an example of appealing to a general interest, yet having a certain spotlight on a certain segment of the population. So I think it's a great example of how it's a good balancing act that a lot of publications would be smart to follow if they want to really connect with their audience.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Anne. And the same question to Greg. What do you believe the impact would be on the publishing industry and the LGBTQ community coming from the ACP point of view?
Yeah, I agree with what both Jamie and Anne had to say, in that I think Embrace is leading the way and maybe opening up a way for other organizations, other publications to speak more freely about LGBTQ issues. This is just, people are who they are. And so,
Yes.
and in the ACP, I would say by and large, and not exclusively, but by and large, most of our publications are on the very progressive side. And even in one of our largest publications, a premier national magazine within this space, justice space, and that relates to faith, about a dozen years ago, they refused to accept an ad from an LGBTQ organization, advocacy organization. Well, that caused a huge storm, and they ultimately did a reversal of that. And I think today they would have no problem doing that. But having organizations, having publications like Embrace within our fold, it just normalizes it. Here's your neighbor, here's your friend, here's your coworker, here's people who have lifestyle issue or ideas and issues and stories that relate to them as specifically as anyone else does, and it just says that this is not out of the ordinary, and that's what it really does. I think for members of the ACP is it allows them to see that as just a normal part of their publishing. If they're talking about on one side of the spectrum, someone who is into running marathons. Well, what if that person is also gay? Why can't we include that? Why can't we include that as part of the whole person, right?
Yes.
And if faith is part of their life, and marathoning is part of their life, and their LGBTQ identity is part of their life, why is that not included? And so I think that's what Embrace does by being part of our organization, is it leads the way for making that conversation just part of our regular conversation of an entire reportage on a person or an event.
Thank you so much, Greg. And I wanted to inform our listeners so they understand. I first came across the Associated Church Press through my first magazine, Elevate, which was a faith-based publication. And that's how I became a member, and was very happy with my membership with the ACP and wanted to continue it. But Elevate had to go on hiatus, and Embrace started. And I approached Greg and I said, Greg, am I going to be able to keep up my membership here? And he said, John, you were in our conference in Chicago, and you remember all the different LGBTQ-related stories that were involved. So there was a movement to be more inclusive on story coverage. Yours would be the first publication that would be the opposite, which would be an LGBTQ publication with faith-based content included. So more than happy to have that involvement. So yeah, I again, very grateful to everyone. We only have 3 more minutes, so I want to follow up in closing just to ask each of our panelists to tell them, our listeners, where they can find out more about what they're working on. Jamie, again, is the owner of EM Agency. Ann is with FloridaPolitics.com, and Greg is with Greg Brecky Media. We'll start with Jamie, if you want to give the audience a quick mention of your business and where they can find them.
Sure. Again, we're M Agency, and we like to say that we build the brands that we believe in, maybe even the brand you believe in. And, when John approached us with Embrace as M, it just felt like such a natural fit. Just couldn't think about a better fit for what we do. So,
excellent. And what's the website?
Looking for more like that.
What's the website?
Emagency.com. It's emagency.com.
Thank you, Jamie. Same for Ann. Ann, where can people find Florida Politics?
Hi, sorry about that. I work for Florida Politics. We cover the legislature and regional political news. You can find us on Twitter at FLA_POL, or find us on Facebook or at FloridaPolitics.com.
Excellent. Thank you, Ann.
And follow.
And last minute, so I'll ask Greg the same question.
Sure. When I'm not working with the Associated Church Press, I am a video and photo journalist and who writes when he has to. And I'm at gregbrecky.com. That's GreggBrekke.com, or at GD Brecky on Instagram and Twitter and all of that. I work mostly with relief and development groups, travel around the world, documenting work that helps support those who are vulnerable and vulnerable populations.
Thank you so much, Greg. Really quick, Embrace Magazine's advocacy issue is out now. You can find us on embracemagazine.us. And the Lux issue is set to publish February 2022. That one's going to be amazing, so stay tuned. Thank you, everybody, and thank you, Tom.
Thank you. We'll be
Thanks
right
for
back.
having us.
We'll be right back after this timeout.
Thank you.
On 1370 AM, 96.3 FM, WOCA, The Source.
Broadcasting from the Ocala International Airport, this is WOCA AM, W242CA FM, Ocala, 1370 AM, 96.3 FM, The Source.
USA Radio News with Lance Pry.
Prime Minister Scott Morrison confirmed Wednesday Australia is joining the U.S. in a diplomatic boycott of